Well, I trust you all had a wonderful Thanksgiving. Yes? Yes? I did. I joined my son and his family out at the desert for smoked turkey and all the fixing. And I did have a nice birthday earlier in the week as well. So thank you all for your warm wishes. It's been a great week, a full week. So our theme this month has been praise and thanksgiving. Our topic this morning is joy bubbles up. Praise and thanksgiving is important because we all know that what we focus on increases. And when we can look to things that we can praise, more will be available to us. When we look for things that we can be grateful for, more will be available for us to be grateful for. As I was going through my gratitude list, the usual items come up: your health, my talents, my creativity, my friends, my family, my home, my surroundings. And yet what I feel at this moment in time that I am most grateful for is my spiritual growth, and to be able to remember to see with the eyes of God, to see with the eyes of love, and to live there as much as I can. So I am, and that's really my goal, that's my focus. And yet I had an interesting, challenging lesson this last week in that whole regard, because I had the opportunity to observe myself getting very angry at losing a game of cards. I don't know if anybody else has experienced that or not, but it was very interesting for me. I mean, normally I think, you go back and look at it and go, what happened there? But it was because I was leading the whole time. I was just so confident that I have this game handle. I'm slamming it. I'm nailing it. Here it is. And then the last hand, it was just pulled out from me. And I sat there, and the person I was playing with said, my opponent said it was obvious that you were not real happy because I could see you over there just seething, was the word that he used. And so after the whole thing was over, I was mad. There was no doubt about it. But it's interesting how I've learned that I can observe myself being mad, And so I sat with myself and I thought, okay, Gabe, what do we need to do here? So I pulled out Joel Goldsmith. I started reading Joel. And I acknowledged my feelings. I mean, I acknowledged the fact that, that I am upset. I know that. But let me look at some other way that I can look at this whole thing. Because I don't like to stay there. I do not. I mean, getting mad is one thing, but staying there is another thing. It doesn't feel good, So it dawned on me that I remembered something that I observed when I was out at the desert with the family. And they have a dog, Bailey. Burke and Lindsay do. And I observed that at one point Bailey was sniffing around getting something off the ground or whatever. And Lindsay said in a very stern voice, "Leave it." And I've heard other people say that, I guess in training of dogs, that's what you do when you want them to stop whatever they're doing or move on to something else, and you say, "Leave it," their attention goes elsewhere. And so I thought, here I am, I'm training myself. I said, "Just leave it, Gay." There's no reason for you to continue on this angst of losing this silly game. I mean, come on. You're living in the moment right here and right now. That was then, as Jerry Coleman would say, and this is now. So just let it go. You don't have to again and again rehash, those feelings. And so the next day I was apologized for my poor behavior to my opponent. And he said something very wise. He said, "It was just an experience. No need to label it good or bad. It was just an experience." And I thought, you know what? I can go with that. Why do I have to label it bad or good or whatever? It was an experience. It was an experience of life. And so I'm grateful. I'm very grateful for the lesson that I learned, that I can just leave it, let it go, and move on. So life, I believe, gives us lessons all the time if we are willing to learn them, remember them. How many times have we had to learn the same lesson time and time again because we didn't really learn it the first time? So our topic this morning is joy bubbles up. And joy bubbles forth, actually, is what it is. And I was speaking with my mentor this last week, Martha Creek, Reverend Martha Creek. And I was telling her how that all my life I have had this thought or this notion that when I'm doing something, if I'm involved in whatever activity I'm doing or whatever, and it's just not bringing me joy, I'm not going to do it anymore. That's all there is to it. I'm not going to do it. And of course, she always comes up with these gems that just shock the heck out of me because, I mean, they're kind of obvious, but, you know, I don't get them initially. She said, okay, think about that again. You have things in life that you do. Not everything can give you joy all the time. You floss your teeth. Does that give you joy? No. It doesn't floss your teeth to give you joy, but you do it. Why? Well, because you want healthy teeth. So there's a lot of things in life that we do that don't necessarily bring joy bubbling up within us, but we do it for a specific reason, for a specific outcome that we want. And so I thought, yeah, you know, that's right. I don't have to be joyful about every little thing that I'm doing. And I'm going to confess right now what I was talking to her about. Because now at the church, we don't have soloists coming in anymore singing, right? And but we still have them on the schedule. So what I've been doing is finding the CDs that I have from those folks and picking out the songs and all this. And I'm thinking, this is getting kind of, I don't know, it's not giving me joy anymore to do this part of it, you know. I mean, I love our songs, I love our music, but I'm thinking, you know, it was easier for me when somebody else did the music and somebody else came up here and they just sang and I wasn't necessarily involved in the nitty-gritty of it. And I thought, it doesn't necessarily have to give me joy. I do it because I'm the one to do it, you know? And it's like anything in life, there's a lot of things that we don't necessarily have joy in doing. But if you look at the bigger picture, there's a bigger reason why we're doing it. So that's just a little side note that I wanted to give you. So we are not joyful at every moment, are we? And because I think that our feelings run rampant. They run from one extreme, one end to the other. But the important thing is to recognize that as we move through this experience of this humanhood that we are in, that there is something that is an anchor that is within us that is changeless. With all the different moods and all the different ideas that come and go with us, there is something within us that is that solid rock, that solid foundation that keeps enticing us to remember that I am here, and that God is, that there is a support, that there is a way in which I am here to let that love, that peace, that joy come out. And I say that. Now, I told you this a long time ago, and maybe you remember it, maybe you've forgotten it, maybe we've got some new people who haven't heard it. But I love this, and I don't know where it came from, this truth. It says, joy is peace dancing, and peace is joy resting. Joy is peace dancing. Can you just vision that? And peace is joy resting. The two are entwined. The two are for different ends of the same stick. That when we have joy and when we have peace, our soul is singing. Our soul is happy. We are in this world of contrast. We are in this world that appears to be duality, appears to be differences. And when we can overcome slipping into the acceptance that duality is, there we find peace and there we find joy. I was reading my Chavez book the other day, and I wanted to share with you one of his poems entitled, Now is the Time. Now is the time to know that all you do is sacred. Now, why not consider a lasting truce with yourself and God? Now is the time to understand that all your ideas of right and wrong were just a child's training wheels to be laid aside when you could finally live with veracity and courage. Chavez is a divine envoy whom the Beloved has written a holy message upon. My dear, please tell me, why do you still throw sticks at your heart and him? What is it, that sweet voice inside, that incites you to fear? Now is the time for the world to know that every thought and every action is sacred. This is the time for you to deeply compute the impossibility that there is anything but grace. Now is the season to know that everything we do is sacred. To accept our oneness, to accept that we are living the life of the divine, that this God energy and essence is using us to move through us to be its expression in the world, to know that God's grace is sufficient. Doesn't that take a whole load off your shoulders? I know it does for me. God's grace is sufficient. Being grateful for this joy that is bubbling up within us, for all of the human feelings that we have to experience, to know that there is within us this literal energy that is living and guiding everything. And what I wrote in the thought for the week, that joy is more than a feeling. Joy is an inside quality that is not dependent on circumstances, for it is a spiritual essence that is available to us in the blink of an eye. And as I wrote in the thought, tiny little things, every little thing can give us that bubbling up joy if we choose to see with the eyes of God. The Master, Jesus Christ, told us in the 15th chapter of John, just as my Father has loved me, I also have loved you. Abide in my love. If you keep my commandments, you will abide in my love, even as I have kept my Father's commandments and abide in his love. I have spoken these things to you that my joy may be in you and your joy may be full. This is my commandment, that you love one another just as I have loved you. Love gives us joy. Love is that abiding presence that we are to remember, to initially and first and foremost love ourselves, love this God energy presence that is beating our hearts, that is breathing our breath. To love that and to honor it and recognize it, to open our eyes to what is, to the strength, to the courage that we have within us, to let go of the fear, to not listen to that still small voice that says, I don't know how, I'm not sure, all the tentative things that can come up from that egoic mind. And just take a deep breath and say, what's going on here? What have I have to learn? What training wheels am I ready to let go of? And step into the fullness of what I am. This energy, this divinity, this perfection. God needs each of us to know, to recognize, to love what it is all around us, to see the wholeness and to honor it. When we do that, there is no way that we will be unable to experience that joy that is bubbling up, that peace that gives us this everlasting feeling of security, of wholeness, of just pure being, just trusting our love that is guiding us at every moment. Be at peace and be at joy. Namaste.